Hi everyone and welcome to Tea Time Diaries. My name is Jennifer and I am a tea lover and self-proclaimed connoisseur of tea. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys some advice on how to brew the perfect cup of tea. So if that's something you're interested in watching, then let's go ahead and get started. All right, so if you're wondering how I've learned these tips, the answer is very simple. Research and experience through trial and error. So there has been many occasions where I have had a cup of tea that was amazing, and then sometimes where it kind of fell flat and wasn't as aromatic and as flavorful as I would have liked. So I'm hoping that by sharing these tips with you that I've experienced, like I said, through trial and error and through research, by sharing these things with you guys, that will help for your experience to be a lot better and for you to be able to brew a perfect cup of tea every single time. So let's go ahead and get started with my first tip, which is to purchase quality tea. Now, the characteristics for good quality tea are very simple. You want to try to stick with longer leaves. You also want to have a tea that is very aromatic, and finally a tea that is very tasteful. So let's talk about the longer leaves. There are different ways that tea makers will cut their leaves. Not to say that shorter leaves aren't flavorful, but longer tea leaves do tend to produce more flavorful teas. And if you want to ensure that you are getting the best taste out of those longer leaves, then you want to make sure you follow tip number 2, which is to get the right sized tea bag. So what I mean by that is that with the longer tea leaves, the way that they are cut is they're generally rolled up, right? And so when you add the hot water to them, they're gonna need that space to unroll, right? Now, if you have a smaller, more compressed tea bag, the tea leaf will not have the ability to unfurl, and therefore the taste is going to be kind of uneven and the flavor isn't going to be as strong as it would be if there was enough space for those tea leaves to unroll all the way. So I have some examples here. These are the tea bags that we typically purchase at the grocery store, and not to say that there aren't tea bags like this that are flavorful and good, but if you do stick with a longer tea leaf, it may not be able to expand properly in a bag this small. So opt for a bigger bag. For example, with this tea, this oolong tea that I purchased at the Tea Fest, these are a larger 3D shaped bag. I'll show you. So as you can see, it's like a little triangular shaped bag. So that way, when these leaves unroll, they fill up the entire bag. So they have the opportunity to unroll, and the flavor from the entire leaf is going to be released into the water. So definitely checking on the size of your tea bag when you're using those longer tea leaves. If you're using a loose leaf, then I would recommend, if you're using a bag, again, purchase a tea bag that has a good enough amount of space in it for when those tea leaves unroll, they can unroll entirely. So that would be my recommendation, is stick to longer tea leaves because they tend to be the most flavorful. And then the next thing deals with the aroma of the tea. A good tea is going to have good aromatics to it, right? So if you have a tea that's prepared in front of you, inhale deeply, and if you can smell those notes, right, from the spices and teas and herbs that are being used, if you can smell it distinctively, then you know you have a good quality tea. If the smell is not there or very faint, that means that the tea is either not good quality or it's already older and maybe even stale. So keep that in mind as well. Have good aromatics. And then in order to help you have the best experience with the flavoring of your tea or the flavor of your tea, with a tea that is good quality, so meaning you have those longer leaves, the aromatics are good, but you still not getting that good flavor or that good taste, then maybe there is a problem with the way you're preparing the tea. So these tips are going to help you to prepare that good high quality tea that you already have at home. So the next tip for preparing that tea properly would be use filtered water. Avoid using tap water for this, for your tea. Use filtered water. That's going to help for you to taste the flavors of the tea and not have it masked by anything else. Also, the next tip would be to use the correct temperature for the tea. So the water temperature should be the correct temperature. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So if you're going to use black tea, for example, black tea, herbal infusions, rooibos, as well as there was one more, I wrote it down. Oh no, that's pretty much it. So black, oolong, rooibos, and herbal teas. For those, you want to make sure that your water is boiling. So 212 degrees Fahrenheit is a perfect temperature for those types of teas. If you're doing green tea or white tea, you want the water to be hot but not boiling. So don't let it boil. Ideally, the temperature should be anywhere between 165 to 185 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, if you're not, able to measure the temperature of the tea, that's okay. Just don't let the water boil for green and white leaves because they end up kind of scorching the more sensitive green tea leaves and white tea leaves, and that takes away from the flavor of the tea. Now, for the next tip, it's don't pour that hot water over the tea bag immediately. What I mean by that is if you're doing, if you're brewing black tea, for example, you let your water boil 212 degrees, but take it off of the fire, let it sit for about a minute or two, and then pour that hot water over the tea bag, which is the next tip. Is make sure that you're pouring the water onto the tea bag and not just taking the tea bag and dipping it into the hot water. It's better if you pour the hot water onto the tea bag. But again, we don't want the water to be really, really hot because that can, again, kind of scorch the leaves and it'll affect the flavor. So let the water boil if you're doing a black tea or an herbal infusion. And once it starts boiling, remove it from the heat, let it sit a minute or two, that's it, and then pour the water over the tea bag. And then my last tip, which is last but certainly not least, is the steeping time. So steep time is very important because if you don't steep long enough, you're going to have not too flavorful of the tea. If you steep for too long, the tea may be bitter, and we definitely don't want that. We want the tea to be perfect with flavor. So with the black tea and the herbal infusions and the oolong, right? 3 to 5 minutes is perfect, right? You can even do with just the rooibos and the herbal tea, you can even do a little longer than that, like 5 to 7 minutes. And then for your green tea and your green tea 1 to 3 minutes, and then your white tea is going to be 30 seconds to 60 seconds. So those are the times that you want to stick with when you are doing those different types of teas. Now you can, my sort of rule of thumb is always to just look at the packaging, you know, whatever it tells you. Like even this one here, which I bought at the tea festival, right? This is not like a big manufacturer of tea, right? But they still have instructions on the tea bag. So it says use boiling water, 212 degrees, and then it says steep for 2 to 4 minutes. So if you have any question, always read the directions and follow the directions that the tea manufacturer is giving. But those are those basic guidelines that you can follow. Now, remember, I'm talking exclusively about tea bags for those times. If you're using straight up leaves, just keep in mind that the times may vary. They may be a little bit longer in order for the tea to steep properly and get all of those good flavors. So those are the tips. To close up the video, I just want to share some of the teas that I've been drinking in those different categories that I've been loving, and then we'll close off the video with that. Alright, so like I said, I wanted to close off the video by just sharing some of my favorite teas at the moment. Since we're talking about the perfect cup of tea, I just want to talk about some of the teas that I've been loving for the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with a green tea that, as you guys can see, I'm almost done with it. This green tea is called a strawberry cream green tea, and it's really delicious. I just put it in one of my tea bags that I purchased. I also have a couple of like tea bag diffusers, I believe it's called, but I just put it in one of those, and I put it in, you know, the cup, pour the hot water over it, again, not boiling, and it always tastes really delicious, really great. Can't really taste too much of that sort of plant earthy taste that, you know, like green tea and matcha tend to have. This one's a little bit more on the sweeter side, which is nice. I've also been enjoying, this is actually a herbal blend of rooibos with apple, cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg, and cloves. This was in my autumnal tea party video, so if you haven't checked that out, I'll leave a card on the screen for you so you can check that out. This was on there. This is absolutely delicious. Naturally, it's very sweet. Really don't need to add any sweeteners to it, but if you wanted to make it a little sweeter, you could add some sugar or some stevia, but it's really nice all on its own. Yeah, it's really nice. And again, it goes over like the steeping directions for this, you know, just in case you don't remember the steeping instructions that I gave earlier, you can always follow it. And this is from this is from the Republic of Tea, which is a brand that you can find in some of your grocery stores, but definitely you can find it online, and maybe even on Amazon. I got this one at Whole Foods. The other one, I bought it at a tea room, so I wouldn't know how to, you know, where to tell you to find it other than where I purchased it at. The next tea, I purchased it at the Spice and Tea Exchange. There is one of these that I know of in New Jersey. It's in Haddonfield, but this one I didn't purchase in New Jersey. I purchased this one in Orlando. Nope, not in Orlando. I purchased it in Destin when I was visiting Florida. This is a white tropical tea, and very delicious, even though it has those tropical notes to it. It also has those warming spices, which is nice for the fall as well. So this is a good one. Again, this is like just loose leaf tea that I put into one of my paper tea bags. This next one I purchased at Trader Joe's. So if you have a Trader Joe's local to you, you can pick one up. This is the pumpkin spice rooibos tea. Very good as well. Also featured in my autumnal tea party video. And then I have this decaf cherry almond, which I'm almost done with it as well. I purchased this one at the Rosemary House when I went to the Tea Fest in Pennsylvania. That video is also up on YouTube if you want to check that one out as well. I'll make sure to link it in the description box below so that you can click on it and watch it. I did pick up a few teas while I was there. So this one is really, really delicious. Also kind of naturally sweet. Doesn't need sugar, but you could add some if you like. Very delicious. And then I have another tea that I purchased at the Tea Fest. This one is the Coconut Cabana, which is a oolong tea with a coconut flavor, and it is absolutely delicious. Very, very good. And then the last one that I want to share is a decaf Earl Grey. This one is from Bigelow, which, you know, it's a larger tea manufacturer, but I do like the flavors from Bigelow. I think it's still pretty flavorful, and I love the Earl Grey. I try to stay away from caffeinated teas if I can avoid it. So that's why I have the decaf version, but it's, in my opinion, just as good. And those lovely Earl Grey notes are definitely still there. So those are the teas that I've been drinking on repeat throughout the days. Again, some of these you can find at your local grocery store or online. The other ones you might not be able to find. I believe this one here, they might have an online store that you can purchase in. I'll tell you the name of the company. It's called TU There. And they're located in Maryland, Baltimore, so they may have an online store that you can order this from. The other ones, like I said, some of the other ones were from some local tea rooms, so you may not have access to those, but you could find something similar in your store. Well, I do hope that you guys enjoyed these tips, that they're helpful to you, and that you are able to brew a perfect cup of tea every single time. So until the next time, have a tea-rific day, and I will see you in my next video. Have a nice day. Bye.